But that's the American dream, right? Is to be able to just do something, be your own boss, and hopefully make your millions somehow.
Yeah, it is fun. I mean, I can't say it's not. It is fun trying to do.
Is this what you do full time? Are you like full on the Grakksaw?
Yeah, are we recording?
I've been recording since the beginning. I'll probably cut a bunch
of
it out.
No, that's great. It's been going great. Yeah, record away. No, man, yeah. So I don't know how you'd say it. I'm pretty much full time. I mean, I'm an engineer, so I contract for my brother.
You're a smart dude.
Not really, but I was one of the dumbest in my class. And actually, side note, dude, one of my buddies, Dan Lynch, if you ever listen to this, Dan, he is the best engineer I've ever met in my entire life, and he took almost 8 years to make it through college.
Whoa.
But he's literally the greatest engineer I've ever met. He could build anything. At 14, he was doing things more impressive than any of the grad students at MU. And
wow.
He's amazing. So, like, dude, there's guys I'm like, man. And then another one of the smartest guys I ever knew, a chemical engineer, he works at Buffalo Wild Wings as a cook.
What?
Yeah, dude.
What the freak?
When you get that smart, I think you just like blow a circuit or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, all the engineers I've met, man, you guys are next level. Like, so I'm a nurse. That's what my day job is, a nurse. And I mean, I don't really nurse. I run a hospice company is what I do. So I'm basically a businessman. But like, I look at some of these guys, like, and most of them are engineers or whatever, and you guys are freaking smart. Like, you guys think your brain works different than mine does. Like, I couldn't come up with a product and develop it like that. Just my mind doesn't work like that.
Yeah, you're smarter. You realize, I could like take care of people at the end of their life and do a lot better and have a lot less stress. Well, it's probably very stressful, actually.
Oh, but, dude.
No, man, I think that engineering school, one of the only positives, there's some positives, but it's really expensive and sucks a lot of your soul, but it does help you think in new ways. I mean, I think that's the only thing I got out of college. I don't ever use my degree. Like, I don't use calculus or I don't use heat, almost anything I learned in engineering school.
Right.
Like, actually, out of a book, but it does make you think in different ways, and it puts you through a lot of stress. So.
Well, and aren't you like always like problem solving? Is that how your mind works? You're always looking at something and trying to fix it and come up with different ways to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I guess. I mean, but I feel like most people do that. Maybe not, but
no.
I feel like I try and break problems down into their constituents, or like a thing down. So like, why is this object or widget not good for what I'm doing? And then you have the basic why, but then from that why, you keep chaining out, finding all the reasons why it's not good.
Yeah.
And all the little things you need to change.
My mind doesn't work like that. I see a problem, like, I'm going to go the other way, and I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to avoid that problem and do something different. So that's how my mind works.
I'm like that sometimes too, though. I think it just depends on what the problem is. And I guess engineering just lends itself better to physical little doodads and stuff.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of, dude, how many engineers do you know that can't talk to a person, even over webcam?
That's true.
So like, there's different types of problems. You're probably really good at dealing with people.
Yeah, that's true. That is one thing. That's where I think my skills are, is like dealing with people and reading people, learning people, and then being able to work with them. And maybe that's why I'm a podcaster. I guess that makes sense of why I'm doing this whole thing. And honestly, I enjoy it too. Like, this is my favorite thing. Like, meeting, like, you and I have never met before. We've never talked before, and we're talking like we're best friends. Like, this is the funnest part about this whole thing, is just this right here.
Yeah, dude, I could already talk. I could talk to you for hours. My wife she was upstairs, and I was like getting some stuff ready, and I was like, man, I just want to lay down and take a nap. She's like, well, you need to set an alarm or something. I was like, I don't even want to do this tonight. But then every time I sit down and do it, I have a great time.
Yeah, dude, I'm the same way. Every time I'm like, oh man, we could push it off. And then I get into it. I'm like, no, I'm so glad that we actually talked and did this, because it's just fun. I don't know why talking is so fun. I guess it depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about something cool like hunting stuff, then it's fun,
Yeah, and for conceited people like myself, and you're just asking me about me, it's like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah, that's all I want you to do. Just talk about you tonight. That's all.
No, I couldn't do that for too long. I hope not.
No, I want to talk about you.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you even reaching out. So thanks,
dude. Austin, I've watched. All right. I've got to admit, I don't have your stuff. I need to get your stuff. I definitely will be getting one of your e-boilers once you have those readily and available. But I've watched your stuff for a long time, and so I've I've wanted to reach out to you, but I've almost like haven't dared reach out to you. I know that sounds weird.
Oh yeah, really scary, dude.
You're big time, dude. You're big stuff.
Oh yeah,
so it's like,
so big time, dude.
I came by your booth. Let's see. How many years have you been at the expo now in Salt Lake?
I've been at the expo. This was my 3rd year, and if you came by 2 years ago, I had a postage stamp by the back wall,
Yes.
and my products got lost. So I don't know if that was the year you came, but I had nothing. I was like, this sucks, dude.
So that was the year that I came by. I was actually podcasting.
Oh, perfect. No wonder why you didn't hook up with me sooner. Oh, I wonder why.
No, that's
Jeez,
not it.
Dude.
That's
you
not
sold
it.
yourself out.
That's not it. But I remember, like, because I looked for you. I'm like, where is he? And you were like, yeah, you were back in the very back, and yeah, you didn't have a lot of stuff there. But honestly, so when I did go by your booth, there was a lot of people there talking to you. So, which was cool. I'm like, and that's more important than anything I'm going to talk to you about. So I'm like, no, that is what it is. And then I never got a chance to come back over because, like I said, I was podcasting the whole time and recorded a bunch of them there. So, but honestly, dude, so my point of all that is I've been meaning to reach out to you for a really long time just because love your products. I love what you've got going on. And I've wanted to ask you a ton of questions about your products. So just super stoked to do this. So, dude, I got to ask you though, like, where did Grakksaw come from? Like that name.
This is such a bad answer, but so I made up the name, but how I made up the name is kind of gay, but I'm going to say it because this is the truth. So back in high school, so I graduated high school in 2009. It's like when I graduated, the movie 300 was like,
oh yeah,
really popular. Yeah, you remember? It was like the biggest movie. For guys in high school, it was like, dude, this is the shit.
Yep.
So I saw that movie and then, man, I guess, I don't know. I got it for Christmas on DVD or something. And I was watching it, and there's this scene where one of the Acadians, or Leonidas says to one of the Acadians, he like yells something at him. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember even what it's the guy's name. It's like, I could find this scene, dude. I'll find the scene later and link it to you.
I'm going to put it in here so people can watch it.
Dark sauce. What a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. I'll find the scene. But he just like yells something at one of the Acadians, and I thought he said Grakksaw, and I was doing something at the time. I wasn't even watching. I was doing something else, and I remember hearing that word, and it was just like I was like, that's an awesome name. So I rewound it, and he said nothing like it at all. But I wrote the name down.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I just was like, that's the coolest name I've ever heard, and I knew how to spell it and how it sounded and everything, and then so I just took the name.
That's not gay at all, dude. That's a sweet way to get a name. I love that.
I guess, man.
It's a hell of a lot better than EHNTR.
The gods of war, I guess. But yeah, I just thought, man, that's a cool name because it's so unique. There's no name. There's nothing. It's only my stuff, So
right.
It's not a word. It's like no one could take it. No one can trademark it. Like I can trademark it, and I still need to. But like I can prove the chain of custody of my name forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's got to be like his last name or something. So then I looked you up, and I'm like, oh, that's not his last name. So like, wonder if there's a partner that had a name like that, or like it was just not that it was the most random thing, but it was just it's different and it's unique, and so it does kind of stand out too. The first time I ever heard it was from Brian Call, and he's talking about
Brian always makes fun of the name, and I'm like, dude, I don't know why. I like the name. I think it's tough, rugged.
I think it's cool.
The 2 Ks make it look. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a cool name.
Yeah,
I'm biased though.
No, I really do. I think that's why I was like, I got to ask him because it is a cool name and just not a name that you normally hear out there. So
no.
And you're not a saw company either, so that's another.
I know, dude. I get that randomly, but actually, you're probably the youngest guy to ever say that. Usually, it's like 50-year-old dudes like at the expo. They'll get some guy who thinks he's hilarious, like, so where's the saw at?
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
Like, I don't know, man. Don't have one. And he's like, you could just tell he thinks so a dumbass. He's like, dumbass. Sorry, man. I don't have a saw. I'm never making a saw.
No. There's enough saws out there. You don't need to make a saw. You got too many cool other things going on. Why did you like? I mean, I want to get into all this, so hope you got time to sit down and.
Dude, I got as much time as you want.
Okay, this might be one of those long podcasts for all you guys listening at home, but like when you first started coming out with gear, like why did kind of talk to me like why did you come out with the gear that you came out, like boot dryers and game bags, like, you know, like how did you go from, okay, here's Grakksaw, I'm going to start this company and then I'm going to do these products, or was it vice versa? Did you make the products and then Grakksaw came into it, or how did this whole thing evolve?
Well, I just wanted to, you know, do a get rich quick scheme that took like 20 years, and I was poor the whole 20 years. That's kind of where it started.
That's the cool.
No, man, the 20-year get rich quick scheme. No, dude, one of my buddies who used to live in Texas. It's kind of confusing. He lived in Texas, then he moved to Colorado. So he worked in Colorado Springs for a while.
Oh, nice.
He said, "Hey, man, I'm a resident, so I can get any elk tag that you could get, you know, essentially." So I'm like, okay. So we found some units and we decided we're going to go elk hunting. This was when I was pretty newly married, within a couple years of when I was married. And I'd never been elk hunting. And I'm like, dude, I've listened to all kinds of podcasts. You know, I've heard all the guys talk about it. I'm like, this sounds awesome. You know, I'm a whitetail hunter. So that was 2016. And so we decided to go out to Colorado OTC, and man, we got our butts kicked. We didn't have any good gear, but we got lucky. It didn't snow on us or rain on us too much. You know, it's pretty fair weather. But anyways, we got into elk, and I should have killed elk. I didn't, but I learned a lot that trip. And one thing I was like looking through my pack when I got home, and I had like 4 pillowcases or something like that, big cotton pillowcases wadded up and tied up in the bottom of my pack. And I thought, man, I spent 7 days hiking around with 4 pounds of pillowcases in my bag. And like, of course, I'm a terrible hunter, and it was just a hike. So and you have to carry those. So I'm like, I got to make a game bag. And back at this point, this was 2016. There was really not many lightweight game bags, man. I don't even know who was making that many. Argali, I don't know.
I was just going to say, anything. I think Argali started making them probably early on, the lightweight game bags, but Argali, I think, was one of the first ones. Like, Kuyu didn't have anything.
Yeah,
Caribou didn't have anything.
Like, I think the next lightest or the closest thing was the tag bags by, I don't know who makes them.
Oh, yeah.
Pristine Ventures, maybe? Or
yeah, I think it is Pristine Ventures.
It wasn't Caribou. It was
Caribou
Pristine,
came later. Yeah. I think it was.
So Pristine had some lightweight bags, but they were made of polyester. So I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
White polyester. And it was like, they were still too big and they were too heavy, I thought. So I'm like, man, I can make nylon of a lot lighter weight and not have a bottom seam, and it's not going to be able to break. Like, it's going to hold a lot of weight. You know, those side seams, they can handle a decent amount of weight, but with no bottom seam, I mean, you could fill this thing with concrete. That was my thought. So I made some. I went through a bunch of nylons and fabric and all this stuff. And anyway, so I made this set of bags, and I thought, well, this will probably hold a bull. And the next year in 2017, I went back to Colorado, and I got lucky, and I shot a nice 6-point bull.
Nice.
And and I was by myself at this point, and got everything broke down. And believe it or not, this big 300-inch 6-point bull fit in these bags. And I was like, dang, I think I'm onto something. You know, this was only 7 ounces I packed around a tiny little fist. So, that was the first thing. And I thought, man, I need to start like figuring out how to manufacture these and sell these. And
dude, that's the engineer mind right there. You just thinking of seeing a problem that's in front of you and then fixing that problem. There's the engineer right there.
Yeah, and everybody was making white game bags. I was the first person that I know of to make orange game bags. Yeah. Now there's lots of different colored and all this, but I was like, why would you make it white? It shows blood worse. And if you kill, like, the orange can be used to flag. It can be used to mark your pack. You could wear it if you had to in a pinch. Like, you can put it on your chest. It'll count as your square inches of orange.
Yeah.
So, like, why wouldn't you make it orange? That's a no-brainer.
Yeah. You know, when I first saw yours, that was the first thing that I actually noticed. I didn't even pay attention to, like, the weight of them. I mean, I did afterwards, but yeah, having them be bright orange, I thought, man, that's like a no-brainer, kind of like a duh moment. Like, why didn't anybody ever do that? Because, like, you hang them in a tree or something. I guess white you can see sometimes, but white still can blend in a little bit. Whereas those bright orange ones, you're not going to miss it if you hang it in a tree or, you know, whatever. Like you said, use it as a flag.
I think it's just human psychology. Like, so you're asking about what I do. I'm also sell fireworks. I have a few fireworks stands around my city. Sweet. Yeah, it's my favorite thing.
Yes.
I love it. But I've learned a decent amount about human psychology, and like, you could have a stand off of a highway that has tens of thousands of cars even a day. But if it's like go off and exit and go back down an outer road, even like 100 yards, you will get nobody.
Yeah.
You will get nobody.
Right.
But then if you would have that stand 100 yards up the road, not on the outer road, you'd kill it. You'd have constant customers. But, dude, I've learned that the hard way. And it's just like a little thing of human psychology. And I think back to the game bags, everybody just made these white game bags because they looked clean. And when you get blood on them, when it's fresh blood, it looks really awesome. Like this red, it's a high contrast. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I think it's like a human psychology thing. So no one even just, it's like a high contrast. And I don't know. I think people just thought, well, game bags are white, so that's what we're doing.
Well, I think that's kind of what I feel like that's what it was. Everybody made white games bags, even back to like the condom looking ones that you roll on, whatever. Like everything was just white. So I think it was just
they're cheesecloth, man.
Oh, sorry.
That's a family show, I heard.
This is
unbelievable.
Man, keep it clean, man. But I do think it is. I think it's human psychology, whatever it is, that everybody just had to have white game bags, and it was like a game changer when you came out with these orange ones. Everybody's like, oh, no, duh. Like, come on, like why hasn't anybody done this? And I think there are a few other ones doing it now.
Yeah, there's other people coming out with orange ones and putting more orange in them and stuff.
Yeah. But I don't know. I thought it was pretty dang innovative, and then just having the lightweight ones and then the durability of them. I think that's, Brian talked about that too, like how durable they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, like they're not, they're 7 ounces for the elk set.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me, you can't drag them on gravel when they're full of weight. You can't walk through. You can't have them on an exposed load shelf stacked out to your sides and walk through willows or young quakies for 7 miles. Like, you're gonna tear holes in them. But if you just put weight in them and you're not dragging them, they're not abrasion resistant, but they can hold a ton of weight. Like, you could fill them with concrete, they're not going to break.
Right.
The string's not going to break. You can do pull-ups on them, it's not going to break.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're plenty strong. I wouldn't say you have to baby them. You don't have to baby them. You just have to use common sense. Like, okay, this is an ultralight piece of fabric. If you have an ultralight tent of 15 D-sil nylon, you're not going to set it up in brush and just having limbs brush against it all night.
Exactly.
Like, it's just basic. It's just basic.
But I think I did see a video of Brian sticking them in a river or something like that, and packing rocks on top of them so it kept the meat cold, and they held up just fine, man.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not sharp, if you don't have a sharp edge of a rock, it'll be fine.
Yeah. So that's just interesting, just that whole process. I wondered how it came to be. Like, what kicked you off on this whole thing? It's intriguing to me. I mean, I'm obviously have that entrepreneur kind of mindset, as well, and so I'm always curious of like what gets people going and what kind of starts you down that rabbit hole of creating a product and then going with it. Did you see a lot of like quick success with the game bags? Did you have a lot of good sales pretty fast?
No, dude.
Oh, really?
Brutal. No, dude. So I had those, like, I built my company and stuff in 2017, but didn't really start like making the website active and everything till like 2018, 2019. But yeah, I mean, it took a while, man. Like, I thought, oh, I'm going to build this site, I'm going to do a few things, and like it's going to just flood in. But it took a lot longer than that, I'll say. And the other problem I had was, and I still make half of my bags in the United States. Like, you can buy the option on my site. You can see USA made or foreign made.
Saw that, yeah.
And getting that actually held me back for 2 years because I was and I still make a lot of stuff in the US, like all the skull hangers and the injection molding I do and stuff. But as far as the bags are related, it held me back because I couldn't meet the demand that I couldn't get into retailers because I could only keep up with my small section of online sales. So I would refuse retailers like Go Hunt and Ovis and all them. Like, I refused Go Hunt for years. Man. I mean, not refused, but I just told them like, I can't because I don't want to disappoint them.
Right.
And like lots of bow shops and stuff like that. So, and it was just tough, man. I went through so many US sew shops, and it would always be either too expensive or the quality would suck, or the minimums they wanted would be like, we'll make you 5,000 sets of bags, and you have to front the fabric and half the cost, and it'd be like $85,000.
Oh my gosh!
And that's like just the fronted. Then you still have to pay at the end, and I'm just like, yeah, I can't do this. Like, just for some game bags.
No.
So that held me back. So then actually, I decided, okay, I'm going to make some overseas. I'm going to make some here out of the very similar fabric.
Okay.
And then I'll let people decide. And that actually opened the door for me to allow me to grow a lot faster.
So it is, I mean, it's basically the same bag though, right? Like I was looking at your site where you could choose between the two and it looked basically like the same bag.
Yeah, it's the same. And like the quality of the foreign bags is no lower. It's perfect. Like they're great. The foreign bags have screen printing on them too. So like it has my branding on it. The American ones are just, the only difference in the American ones is every single edge is laser cut or heat cut. So like no matter what you'd ever do, there's no way to ever get a fray, which it doesn't matter how it's sewn. It doesn't matter anyways, but that's the only like technical difference.
Do the American ones have the screen print on them? Does it say Grakksaw on them?
No.
Okay.
Well, that's another difference. Not so technical, I guess, but yeah, it doesn't have the screen printing. But everything else is pretty much equivalent, you know.
Gotcha.
Same size, same strength rating of the string and all that.
Dude, I would have done that in a heart. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I like American made stuff. You know, I like the Origin camo because they're doing American made. I get it, but you got to run a business though. You know what I mean? You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I'm still giving people the choice, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's going well doing it that way. Like, because some guys, they don't care about the money, you know?
Right.
But when people ask me, like, what's the difference? I just am like, well, the extra $25 is the labor. That's literally the difference.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, for sure.
So,
man. So are the game bags, is that your biggest product still, or has the boot dryers and skull hangers and whatnot caught up to them?
I mean, if you like would keep the game bags in a SKU and then, or like all in one category, and then the boot dryers in their own category, and then the hangers in their category, they're all pretty close, really.
Really?
Say, like, yeah, the skull hangers might be the least, but it's hard to actually say. I'd have to look at the numbers, but like, because I can sell the skull hangers on Etsy, I sell them on eBay, and I sell them through retailers, lots of mom and pops, and I sell them on online sites. So like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're all pretty close, really.
That's awesome, man. That's good though. Like I feel like, you know, some things I feel like sell. I would think like a game bag. Like game bags would sell a lot more than other things. I don't know, just because they're easier. Maybe they're not, but easier to.
The thing is, though, I mean, people do buy game bags, but I mean, there's guys that are using my game bags from 5 years ago still, you know? So
I guess that's a good point, because that's kind of what I was thinking is like I go through game bags pretty quickly. You know, they're not quickly, but every couple of years I've got to buy new game bags just because of how I treat them. So I feel like I'd be buying those a lot more than I'd be buying, you know, because I buy a skull hanger and it's there and it stays there, and I don't, you know, unless I kill a lot of big animals that I want to put on the wall. Yeah. But I don't know. That's interesting. Did it go game bags and then skull hanger? Was the skull hanger your next product?
No, I did the boneless game bags first, and then I came out with the boot dryers, and then I wanted to come out with something that again was made in the US, and I had a quick turnaround time. So if I knew I had projected demand from somewhere, I could get my machine shop to start on the skull hangers, and in a few weeks I could go from having nothing to having a lot of them, you know.
Gotcha.
And it's just a low lead time on the skull. The skull hangers are my lowest lead time of anything because it's mechanized, you know.
Right.
There's no humans involved, barely. You know?
Right.
It's getting laser cut, bent with a person, and then painted or not painted, powder coated. So that was that. I did that because I was like, man, I gotta have something to fill the gap here. And I had really good ideas for the skull hangers because I bought every single one off Etsy, and I bought all the big brands and stuff, and I just was never impressed. I was not impressed by a lot of them. Some of them are good, but a lot of them I think suck, especially the deer hangers on Etsy. I went through, dude, so many, and they're all flimsy crap.
Dude, there's some popular brands out there. So actually, I guess I take it back. I do have one of yours. So I've got 3 skulls hanging right here. I shouldn't shame it. The other ones that I have, but it's a very popular brand. I bought them a while ago because these are ones I shot a while ago, and they're so flimsy, and I've had so many issues with them. Whereas yours just works. Like I haven't had any issues with it at all.
Good, man. Yeah, the deer one is made so, you know, those tabs index, so it doesn't matter what your skull looks like or the antlers look like. It just sits on there and it can't rotate or fall off. It's just locked in.
Right.
Because all the cheap ones I had a whitetail I shot with a bow, and he had one side busted off. So he wasn't huge, but still that lopsided weight. Any of those cheap ones with the single prong he would just fall, like rotate right off.
Yeah. Yeah. I had that issue with one of what I ended up doing with one of them. I don't think I have it up anymore, but I ended up just taking a wire and tying it between the two bones and then put it on a hook. I was like, I'm so sick of this thing falling off the wall and tipping off of it. So that's what I ended up doing ultimately, or not ultimately until I could figure out a better option. But again, that's your engineer mind going, as I've thought about that a million times. Like, how do I make these things work? And that's just not how my mind works. So I'm glad that you came up with something that actually worked.
Well, yeah, and I see that elk back there. I think it's an elk.
Yeah.
But if you need some elk ones, I'll have to send you some of those, because I made those because I was sick of smaller bulls looking like they were like hanging upside down in a room. Most raghorns are like 260 and smaller bulls. They look so awkward on most hangers because those hangers are accounting for the rear tines sweeping back, but they don't on bulls under 300 even.
Right.
So I made mine adjustable where you can kick that head forward or backwards so you can make it look presentable and look good, not like it's like upside down. See,
that's what I've hated this, because the guy that did the Euro on this, he put it on a wood board. So it's got one of those boards behind the skull. It's a small one. It's a 280. So it's not a big one, but when it's up on the wall, it just looks so funny. If it had a little bit of an angle to it, it would look so much better. But yeah, when it's up there and it kind of pokes out a little bit, it's just like, it doesn't look natural. It doesn't look right.
Yeah.
That's why it's sitting on the floor.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, you got to fix that.
Yeah, I'll have to grab one of those from you and put up. I've got a spot over here that I've wanted to put it up there. I've got a lot of Euro mounts in my office, and so it's nice to have a good hanger to put them up with. So with that one, I'll probably have to take it off the board and put it on one of your hooks so it actually looks nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's something cool to the plaques, though. I mean, I don't know. I think the right plaque, and if you did have it at the right angle, I think it can look really good. And I don't know if you've seen how some of the Europeans do the stag. Excuse me. Some of the Europeans do the stag where they bandsaw the head right behind the nose, where it just leaves a sliver. So it leaves you the top of the nose, but not the bottom of the nose, and none of the cartilage. All that's cut. Dude, you can look up some photos of red stag on a plaque where they bandsaw them like that. They look cool, man.
I gotta look this up. I'm gonna look it up right now.
But it's very delicate. You'd have to be really careful when you're actually mounting it.
Yeah,
but I think it looks cool.
Wonder what they cut that with.
It's got to be a bandsaw.
Oh,
I mean,
dang.
you can go with a hacksaw, but bandsaw, hacksaw, thin bladed.
That does look cool.
You find what they're doing with the red stag. I think it looks great, man. I don't have the guts to try it on an elk right now, but maybe I'll try it on a smaller bull or something.
That's what I was just thinking. I don't know that I could make that cut. I think I would mess it up in a hurry. But man, there's one of these that looks really cool. It's kind of all decorated up and whatnot. But
yeah, my brother's gonna go on an elk hunt next year, and it's a really good tag, and he's planning on doing with that, even if he kills a 330. So
really, he wouldn't put his wouldn't do a shoulder mount.
He's gonna do that, put an awesome plaque, and get an upholstery person to do it, and then he's gonna put it on his fireplace.
Oh,
so
that'd be cool.
True European, a true European mount. I'm like, dude, that's cool.
That would be cool. That's a big bull though to be. It's hard not to shoulder mount a 330 bull, you know.
He doesn't care. Yeah,
he shot enough of them. It's not a big deal.
No, he just doesn't care. He's just a very decisive guy, and he's like, if I kill a bull next year, it's getting mounted this way. That's that. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm like, okay.
That's my brother-in-law. He's the same way. He got a Utah tag, and he's like, I'm just gonna Euro it. I'm not gonna do a shoulder mount. I'm like, dude, he's been putting it for 30 years. Do a shoulder mount with it, man. And he's like, no, I like Euros. I want to do it. And I was like, okay, if you get a smaller one, then go ahead and do that. But if you get a bigger one, bigger than 350, you gotta shoulder mount it. And he ended up shooting a 360, 368 or something like that. I was like, sweet, he's gonna shoulder mount it. It's gonna look good. Nope. Sure enough, it's Euroed above his TV in his living room. Like, dude, you're crazy.
I bet that looks wild though. I bet those antlers look huge on that skull like that. So.
Dude, I'll send you a picture. It's got 60-inch main beams on it. It's huge. It does. It really does look cool. I mean, it would have looked really cool as a Euro. And if it had better threes, I mean, he would have been a 380 bull easy. But
yeah, dude, I'm with you though. Like if I kill a bull that big, I've never killed a bull that big. If I do kill a bull in that 350, 60 range, it's definitely getting shoulder mounted. Yeah, it's definitely getting shoulder mounted.
Well, that's the thing. Like he put in for 30 years. I mean, I've been putting in for 25 here in Utah. So it's almost like just a matter of the point. Like I've been putting in for this long. I deserve to have a shoulder mounted elk up on the wall.
Yeah.
It could be a 320 bull. I don't even care. I'm going to put shoulder mounted up on the wall just because of the principle of the matter. But
yeah.
Do you do a lot of elk hunting?
Yeah, I go every year.
Do you go to Colorado every year?
No, I go wherever I can get the best tag. So I've been to Utah. I've been to the South Slope in Utah over the counter. I've been to Idaho. I've been to Wyoming. I've been to Colorado.
Good
I
night.
feel like I'm forgetting somewhere. That's just elk. I'm trying to remember where else. I feel like I'm missing a state elk hunting. But that's elk hunting states for sure. I've been there.
Man, you get around.
I go every year, man. I try and go twice a year.
Dang.
I try and do 2 elk, and then if I get a mule deer tag, I add that in, but like elk's my priority. So if I get 2 elk, and then I'll go on a third if it's mule deer. And then I'm trying more for bear because I've failed on 3 different bear hunts. So I got to kill a black bear. So that's kind of my thing now. But yeah, elk hunting is my favorite, man. I love elk hunting. Dude,
elk hunting it's where it's at. I feel like it's the best hunting that you can possibly do. But I am with you on the bear. I'm headed to actually going to go to Canada this year and kill a black bear because I've always wanted to get a bear. I've only hunted them one time in Colorado and it was a grind, man. I killed myself on that hunt. I hiked so much and put in so many miles, but I was also hunting it very wrong. I was hunting it like I was hunting elk, and you don't hunt bear like you hunt elk. No. So it was a bit of an adventure, but yeah, I want to get a good bear on the wall or on the ground in a rug.
So that's spring bear in Canada.
Yeah, we're headed up the end of the last week of May.
That's awesome, man. Are you bringing a boomstick or bow?
Bow.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty awesome. I was gonna say if you're doing Canada bear, I feel like I'd choose bow just because you still have such a good opportunity, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and we're going to go with an outfitter. So my buddy that's going with me, he went to the same outfitter last year and shot a moose. So they do moose and black bear, and they're like, hey, you got to come back up next year and do black bear. And so they talked him into it, and he's like, hey, do you want to go with me? And so I was like, yeah, I want to go with you. I want to go shoot a bear. Yeah, so, while he was up there, he kind of saw how they hunt bear. So basically, we'll be hunting his tree stands over bait. So I was like, man, if we're doing that, put a bow in my hand and let me have a lot of fun throwing sticks at a bear. I think it'd be a blast.
Heck yeah, man. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of jealous. I don't know. I got to get the bear one done. It's crazy, man. I put in a lot of effort and just struck out so bad, man.
Dude, they say once you go bear hunting and you finally get one, like apparently it's a drug, kind of like elk is. As soon as you do it, you're like, I just got to do it every year and I got to figure out a way to do it. Yeah. So I'm a little nervous that I'm going to come back and be like, all right, what am I doing next year to hunt bear?
Yeah, you probably will, but that's a good problem to have. That's great addiction, man.
It is. It's fun, man. It's fun. Yeah, we have some really good trips planned this year. We're going to Canada at the end of May, and then we're going to Alaska to hunt moose in September. That's where your boot dryers are gonna come in handy. I've got to get some of your boot dryers for that trip because it's gonna be. Well, have you ever been to Alaska? Have you ever hunted up there?
No,
dude. You're always wet. Like it is.
Yeah, that's
always wet.
That's what everybody's saying. It's always wet, and half the time it's windy, and the other half the time it's foggy.
Yeah, we went to Kodiak, and I ended up actually having to switch boots because my boots got so soaking wet inside and out. And if I would have had your boot dryers, it would have been a completely different hunt for me. But I'm gonna make sure to be prepared.
You should still bring 2 pairs of boots if you got the weight allowance, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And if you I don't know where you're at, if you can have a stove or not, but man, if you can have a stove, I don't know what your whole tent setup and everything is, but
yeah, we'll have a wall tent or I guess it's kind of like a wall tent, a canvas tent that will be set up with a stove. So that'll be helpful. When we went to Kodiak, we didn't have that, and so we didn't have a stove, nothing to dry. And that's the thing is, you don't have a stove or boot dryers or something, you're not going to dry.
You're not getting dry. No, you can do whatever you want. You can sleep with your boots in your bag and blow on them or whatever you want, but it's not going to work.
Not going to work. And it did not work.
Hey, the old timer newspaper trick, it helps a little bit, but it still doesn't work.
What's the, I don't know what that is.
Oh, you don't know that, dude? That's a great one.
What is it?
It does work. It wouldn't work on Kodiak, but like if you were in Colorado or somewhere with low humidity, it works great. So the old timers would take newspaper and get like as much as they wanted to carry and fold it up into like just wide enough to fit in your boots. Okay. So like that was their fold width. And you do it, say you do it like half an inch to an inch of newspaper like that. In 2 sets. So then when you get your boots wet, you put them in your boots like that and ruffle them out a little bit so you increase your surface area. And then you go to bed. And when you wake up in the morning, that newspaper is absorbing lots and lots of that moisture. Then you go out for the day and you just leave that newspaper spread out on your tent floor and it'll dry from the low humidity. And you come back at night and you can keep redoing the process. So that's what the old timers would do.
I have never heard that in my life. Dude,
that's the old Missouri trick all the old boys around here would always do.
Dude, that's genius. I haven't even, because I sweat a lot. My feet sweat a ton. And so always the inside of my boots are always somewhat damp, and so that's all. I mean, boot dryers are probably better.
Works. That's the thing. It works for sweaty feet, or like maybe you crossed a creek really quick and you just got a little damp. If there's really wet, like it'll take the edge off a little bit. It's not really going to do it. So, but it's still a cool tip. I mean, it's cool if you got nothing else.
So, what about your boot dryers? Like, say, like Kodiak. Like my feet were wet because everywhere you walk, you're basically walking in a swamp everywhere you go. And so they got wet, and again, my feet sweat. So the inside was getting wet from sweat and just moisture and just everything. Will the boot dryers like completely dry that out in a night?
Yeah, it depends on a lot of factors though. How cold is it when you went there? So is it close to freezing? Is it 40 degrees at night?
It was like, when we were there, it was like 40. And when we go this year, it'll probably be, like 40 degrees.
Okay. What's the ambient humidity? Is it, or relative humidity? Is it always damp? Is it like fogged constantly?
Pretty much. Yeah. It's
okay. If I'm being honest, you need a heat source, because here's what's going to happen. When it's above 32, it starts working. Below 32, all it's doing is accelerating your freezing.
Oh.
You understand?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
So you have to have it above 32, and you want the humidity as low as possible. But if it's 32 to 40 and you're in a cloud, like when I go mule deer hunting, if I'm in usually I'm really high, I don't bring them, because if I'm by myself and I'm in the clouds, they just don't work. Because you're moving air is all you're doing. It's not there's no heating element. So if it's that damp and that cold, it won't work. But if it is even 40 degrees or to 45 to 50, anywhere in there, but even over 40 or at 40, if your humidity is low, it will work well. Okay. It'll work 10 times as just leaving your boots out. But you just can't be in a cloud, because then it's just pumping that humid air back into your boot.
Yeah.
So that's why the stove is so awesome, because if you can suck the humidity out of your immediate space and increase your temperature even to 50 degrees, like, dude, your boots are dry in no time.
Oh, man.
You could take your boots at 70 degrees and 60% humidity. Those boots will be dry. You could totally soak them and then put the boot dryers in overnight. They will be totally dry.
Really?
If you wouldn't have the boot dryers in those conditions, those boots will stay wet for days.
See, and like a lot of the issue I have, so not even going to Alaska, but like my Utah archery hunt here in Utah, it's middle of August to middle of September. So it's hot. Like, it's super hot during that time of the year. And like I said, I sweat like crazy. My feet get so sweaty. Like, that's probably ideal then, because it's Utah where it's super dry, low humidity, it's warm. But yeah, because I'm sweating so much, that's why my boots are wet. Like, that would be perfect to use the boot dryers to dry them out.
Yeah, man, they'll be drying 30 minutes or so in those conditions.
Wow, that's crazy.
Instead of you'll go to bed and in the morning they'll still be damp. You could just turn it on while you're getting your food made and stuff. And by the time you're ready to sleep, You can unplug the boot dryers, plug your phone, and your boots are going to be good.
Wow. How much energy do the boot dryers use? Like, say I've got like a 10,000 milliamp dark energy charger.
It'll run on the 10,000 milliamps. It'll run over 48 hours. So it's using.
Really?
Yeah, you don't need that. You don't need that though. But it'll run that long. So it uses 1.25 watts. So it's 25% of what a phone is using to charge, because a phone is 5 volts, 1 amp. This is 5 volts, 0.26 amps.
Okay.
So it's one quarter.
Yeah, so that would last for 48 hours. Wow.
Yeah, because you could leave your phone plugged in empty, charging for about 12 hours usually before your 10,000's totally dinged.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. That's honestly one thing I was worried about, because I mean, I've got my solar charger and whatnot, so hopefully I'll be able to keep my power banks charged. But I was, with all my camera equipment and whatnot, I keep adding more stuff that takes power. My headlamp takes power. My GoPro takes power. So then I add the boot dryers in there. That takes power, but that's very minimal power. That's worth it, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty much negligible. And I actually in the last 2 years I've played a lot with upping that and having more powerful fans. But I think I found a really good balance, because there's some other fans I played with that take, say, like 40% more power, but the efficiency just keeps dropping and dropping, especially on a form factor, a fan that size.
Right.
So like the more air you want to push, it's using more and more, it's starting to go straight up that curve of how much power it's using. So I think it's a really good balance between dry time and power usage. I mean, I haven't heard a single complaint of power usage ever.
Okay.
Not one.
Well, that's good too, because I was doing a podcast with, do you know Ethan Pateman? Red Patch Outdoors.
Yeah, of course I do.
Actually,
I call him Ethan. No, don't call him Ethan Pateman. You call him Ethan Pate Boy. Yeah, Ethan Pate Boy, and then Jed's his partner. I call him Simple Jed and Ethan Pate Boy. That's what I call those two ding dongs. Yeah, I hope you need to link this to him too. I hope he listens to
he'll listen to it. I promise you. He's been on a couple podcasts with me lately. In fact, I've got one I'm editing right now that him and I did together with Archery. And I can't remember if it was that one he was talking about you, or it was, because he was wearing a Grakksaw shirt. That's what it was. He was wearing a Grakksaw.
Okay. Yeah. He's in my good graces.
Yeah, he's got your back.
Yeah, I know. He's Mr. King Tut, because he goes and kills some big 7x7 in Arizona, and he's all cool all of a sudden.
And he's got it tattooed up his arm. Actually, it's not that one, but
yeah.
Anyways,
no, Ethan and Jed are good guys.
They are. Yeah, he spoke very, very highly of you. I think he was telling me a story. You guys were like next to each. Actually, it might have been that year that you guys were like next to each other at the expo. And
that was the first year, yeah.
And he's like, you guys were just kind of stuck together, and you're kind of back in a corner, and got to know each other really well. Anyways, he was telling me he uses your boot dryers for a lot more than just boot dryers. And I was like, what do you use it for? And he says that he'll take your game bag and he'll put the boot dryer at the top of the game bag and blow air through the game bag to cool the meat down.
He told me that too. I know, he told me about that. He said I needed to make something for that, and I was like, I mean, that's actually a good idea.
I think it is, man. You need to make a little thing that'll hold the boot dryer and then have the bag wrap around it. I'm not the engineer here. You are. You'll figure it out. But he said
it's funny, because I've worked on something. I just haven't released anything because I've been working on this boiler for 3 years. But there's a way it's pretty simple, but you can use the boot dryers to move hot air from the top of a hot tent to the bottom. And dude, at first I'm like, this is not going to work, but there's really simple ways you can make it work by essentially just building a fabric chimney. But you would be blown away if you it will make the bottom of your tent 85 degrees instead of 50. Dude, it's pretty wild. I don't know. I don't ever mess with that, dude. I don't know. I'm too lazy. I feel like when I'm back at my tent, I'm eating food, falling asleep. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, but he said the same thing. He's like, because I was asking him what he does with it, because he brought up that one. He's like, I also put it at the top of my tent. He's like, every time I get back to camp, it's at the top of my tent and it's blowing down. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, it's a game changer. He's like, it'll warm me up. And then he said, inversely, he said, when it's hot out there, it'll kind of pull the heat out of the tent too,
dude,
if you flip it.
That's funny, because I was making fun of people. There was guys suggesting this, like Brian Cole was one of them. There was other guys suggesting this 2 years ago. they're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, you guys are idiots. Like, it's not gonna move the CFM, you know. And I'm trying to be all technical, and then like I tried it, and I'm like, actually,
gosh, dang it
actually
works.
All the science and math really didn't work on that one, so it works. I mean, it's not a ceiling fan.
No, but
so there's that. It's not an AC unit or a furnace, so there's that. But it does help move air.
When you're out in the mountains, dude, in any little bit helps.
And
you know.
I think why it feels so good in a small shelter too. A Walton, I don't think it's going to do squat, but a small shelter, your biggest problem is your stagnant air. I mean, that's why you get condensation is your stagnant air. So if you're pulling all that moist air out, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to lower your relative humidity a ton.
Yeah. No, I think it would work well. Like in a dome tent. When we went to Kodiak, that's what we were using was a dome tent. And man, I think about it all the time. Like that'd have been sweet to have that right in the top of that dome tent. One, blowing that heat out, but yeah, having that air movement as well, especially something like that doesn't take much power. Like, oh man, it's a game changer. So it's a boot dryer and a ceiling fan. That's that's what it is.
Yeah, the only way I'd say that, you know, if you had Ethan hunting with you, though, you could just make him get on all fours and blow on the stove flue, and then he could circulate hotter that way. That's probably what I'd make Ethan do if he was hunting with me.
I'm going to text him as soon as we're done. I'm like, hey, dude, I got a podcast for you, man.
No, he's I got to see what I do in Montana this year. I'm looking at, I don't know what tags I'm going to end up getting, but he wants me to come to Montana with him, do some archery elk. I need to.
Yeah, he does. He brought that up. He's like, I got to get Austin out here to Montana and do some hunting with me.
Really bring that up?
He did. Yeah. If you,
okay.
I think the podcast will come out this Friday, so you can listen to it and see his Grakksaw t-shirt. But yeah, he talked about. He's like, I'm trying to get him out. He said like 2 or 3 people that he wants to get out there and go hunting with him. But yeah, you were one of them. So you'll have to get out there and go with him.
Yeah, I'd like to. I need to go to Montana. That's one elk state I haven't been to yet. So.
Me either. That's what most of my podcast guests lately have been from Montana, and the more I've talked to them, the more I'm like, I got to get to Montana and do some elk hunting. Never been there. I've never hunted.
I mean, it's from the guys I know. It's great archery, elk hunting.
Yeah,
it's great elk hunting in general, but the archery is phenomenal. But you know, guys from the Midwest, you're dealing with a really long drive, and you're dealing with grizz. So there's those 2 factors, you know. And if you're hunting with partners, maybe grizz isn't the biggest deal, but I'm usually by myself. And my wife, I've had some grisly things happen in the past. My wife is kind of like, she's kind of done with me hunting in heavy grizz areas. So
yeah, I don't know that I would do it by myself. He does it all the time, you know. Ethan does, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would mess with it by myself. But if I was in a group, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah,
but. All right, we got to talk. I don't want to take your whole night, but I do want to talk about your e-boiler.
Dude, I don't care.
You got nothing going on?
You're talking to a real loser, man, all right?
Whatever, dude.
I'm living in a van down by the river eating a diet of government cheese.
Whatever, dude. You're living high on the horse, man. I know how it is. No, but I do want to talk. I mean, the real reason I reached out to you is like when I finally decided I've got to reach out to you is I didn't get to make it to the expo this year. My wife and I went to, enjoyed some sun in Mexico that weekend.
I'm living on the high. Wow, dude. I'm living the high life, slaving away in a booth in Salt Lake. Okay.
You were making money. I was spending money. See, that's how it is. I was spending money. You were making money. Was the expo good for you this year? Was it a good turnout for you?
It was good, man. It was a great time.
That's awesome. That's what Ethan was saying. He's like, man, Red Patch Outdoors, he's like, we had a really good success this year at the expo. Which makes me happy. Like that's honestly what it's all about, is you guys, making it worth your while to do it.
They sold a lot of bino harnesses, and it's they sold a lot of everything, but yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was great. It met a lot of people. It's really fun talking to people, seeing people you haven't seen in a year or two. And the boiler, I felt like got a lot of traction for me this year, so that was cool.
It did, dude. It's all over Instagram. I mean, it's all over all social media. Like, I was sitting in Mexico. I'm gonna keep saying that just so that it's out there, but. Fine. I was living vicariously off through Instagram, just like seeing what was going on at the expo, because I did miss it. There's not a lot of things I miss. I more than anything miss the people. Like I wish that it was coming up so you and I could actually meet in person. But just like looking at what everybody was posting, and like seriously, like all the posts were about your e-boiler. Like everybody was talking about it. I'm like the world. So I started watching some videos and trying to get caught up on it. And dude, that's cool. You've been working on that for 3 years. Is that what you said?
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, I mean, I've had the idea for probably 5 to 6, but then
Wow.
like I started narrowing it down to kind of I don't know. I started narrowing down processes and materials and all that stuff like within the last 3 years, and then so kind of I'd say about 3.
Like, what did it? So, and I was gonna say I don't want you to geek out too much, but I kind of do want you to geek out too much. Like, you've been thinking about it for that long. Like, what are you thinking about during that? Like, how you're gonna make it? How you're gonna build it? How you're gonna make it work? Is it even possible? Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, so there's a lot to it, man. I mean, the boiler specifically, I feel like, I don't know, it sounds stupid, but I feel like that thing took part of my soul, honestly. Like I'm going to make a video with my video guy of me opening up CAD files and then like going around them and doing certain features in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to spend like a half a day or a day doing that with him recording it. And then I'm going to release a video showing the evolution of it, because
that's what I'd love to see.
Just the CAD, man. If I were to record I could probably find out somehow, because I've been on the same SolidWorks account. But if I could look up how many hours I've recorded in just the CAD, man, I bet it's how many hours are in a work year. I mean, what is that? 40 times 52. I mean, I definitely have over 1,000 hours, a half a year of CAD in that thing. Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. I know I do.
Did you have, like, when you started thinking about it, like, did you have the final product in your mind, or did it kind of evolve as you were working through the CAD files and whatnot?
Yeah, it evolved a lot, man, because I didn't know how I was going to do so many things, because none of them have really I've ever seen done. I had a lot of problems. One, just the basic, what process, like as a business owner now, I have to think, what process can I actually make this where it's high quality, I can manufacture at scale, and it's repeatable. That includes the scaling.
Right.
And then the last factor, it's not the least important though, is cost. How much is this going to cost? You know, I could make a million different ways of this boiler to work if I sold it for $2,000. But to get it to work for under 1,000, it took me a long time based on narrowing down all those things prior. And, you know, I'm not going to give away everything I've been through because it took me a long time, but I've pretty much went through every material type and combination. There's some other ones that are interesting that, like, people who've tried to fix this problem, they'll know about. And, like, there's other close seconds, I think, to the material I used in the process. But I think, like, what I decided is the clear winner. And so what it is, it's a roto-molded It's roto-molded like a cooler, like your Yetis and Arctics and whatever, Grizzlies and all that. But it's a different type of plastic. It's a cross-linked polymer. So it's a similar plastic to what would be in PEX piping. So it can handle 205 degrees operating. And it can really handle more than that for short periods. And it can handle tons of temperature cycles. So it can go cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot 10,000 times.
Oh, wow.
Thousands of times. It's fine.
Wow.
So that alone took me over a year of playing with different materials and combinations of materials. And then, there's the element selection. It had to be electric, but then I went through different thermostats, integrated units. I know every type of thermostat. I've played with every type. I mean, different sensitivities, so many things, man. That's like I would get to like a wall of a problem, and then I would, if I couldn't figure it out at the time, I'd get some things in line to try and figure it out. Like I'd order a bunch of parts, or I'd get some kind of test planned or something. And then I'd move on to something else. So like I'd have a sheet on my desk with like 20 things that I had to figure out. And like, I'd just be moving down the chain. And I feel like a lot of my life, I'm not that systematic.
I was going to say,
but
wow.
I feel, no, I'm really not, man. That's not really me. A lot of ways I'm really undisciplined and lacking. But I feel like in that area, I kind of had to do it that way or I'd never make it anywhere. But yeah, man, I don't even remember what the initial question was besides
Well, that was kind of it.
How did I start solving the problems? I guess is what you were asking. But
well, yeah, and then like I mean that's kind of what I wanted to go because like I'll be honest, Austin, it doesn't make sense to me how you make it work because it's a plastic, like it is a plastic, but then you got a heating unit in it or an element in it too. Does the heating element go through the whole thing, or does it have like? Because I haven't had hands on this thing. Does it like it's like a certain spot on it that heats up, or does the whole thing?
Time to figure out, but so how this. Everyone's gonna know this. Like whenever I do the more videos, when people get their hands on it, it's like I can't hide anything. But I decided to. There's like a cavity on one end where the electronics is. And this cavity, it's a hollow cavity where you can fit the electronics, and then past that wall is a wall to the inner tank that is also insulated. That has inserts, MPT stainless inserts, so you can insert your internal components and have them communicate with your electronics. It's the only clean way I could conceive to do it, and I think it is the best way. Yeah. So this heating element, it's not actually touching any plastic.
Okay. That's kind of what I was trying to get at.
The cartridge, it doesn't actually have an hot part at the base of it. It has like, say, 3/4 or another inch before it starts getting hot, and it's screwed into this big stainless fastener, and it's submerged in water, so your heat dissipation's enough where it all works.
Gotcha. Okay, that's wild.
And
man.
It's protected by a shroud, so there's and this heater I designed is a stainless cartridge heater. So they're kind of, I'm not going to say they're new, but they're becoming newer. Like brewers and stuff are starting to use them because if you get the right watt density and size of these, they're so reliable because they're all sealed. And when you need to clean them or something, you just wipe them down. They're not a bunch of bends and turns. And they're a very, this is 3/16 stainless. So it can handle it can handle almost anything, any element.
Right. So how hot does that get to? 170 is about as high as it goes, or will it go hotter than that?
No, so right now I'm advertising at 185 just because I know for a fact it's going to be fine. But my production boilers are coming in, and when they come in, I'm going to do more testing because they'll boil. But I'm saying that here, but I'm not going to that's allegedly they'll boil.
It's not going on the website.
I'm not going to, allegedly they'll boil. They won't though. But I'm going to test that because they'll be able to reach 205 without damage, I'm very sure.
Wow.
But I think they'll be able to boil because I've boiled in far inferior plastics and they handle it just fine.
Interesting.
So it's going to be, I'm going to boil, dump, and probably pay one of my neighbor kids or something to do it like 50 times a day.
Yeah. Wow.
And then just do that for like a month straight. But it doesn't need to boil. And that's the other thing I have to explain to people. They think that if you don't boil, it's not going to work. Well, 185, in my opinion, is perfect because it's a simmer and you're not damaging the bone. You can leave an elk skull in at 185 overnight and not damage the skull. If you get over 200 overnight, you're going to damage the skull, in my experience. Yeah.
See, I can go lower than that. I've always done it about like 170. But the problem is, and every single person that's ever done this by themselves is gonna know exactly what I'm going to say is, it's hard to keep a consistent temperature, when you're doing it on a Camp Chef or something like that. And so I'm always like bouncing between like 170 and 180, 185. And it takes, it takes forever, but I'm always so nervous to damage the skull and go above that. And so I've always like erred on the side of caution and not overboiled or not overheated it and boiled it longer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the reasons I started doing this, because I ruined my brother. Well, I didn't ruin, but I spent an entire day with my brother boiling his elk skull. There was not a single pot in our entire city we could find that would hold his elk.
Yeah.
So we took a 55-gallon drum and a Sawzall with a metal blade and cut it off at like a quarter of it high. And we did it in that. We used an entire jug of propane. I had to go to the grocery store and get another one halfway through.
Yep.
It was a disaster, man. It took all day. It's just like, that's the first time I had the idea. I was like, I'm doing something better than this because this sucked.
Yeah, I quit doing it. I quit doing it myself. I paid people to do it, but people are charging $250 to do a Euro mount. Well, this elk right here, it's $250 to do that elk. And I'm like, man, a few of those and I can buy an e-boiler from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so that's the advantages. So because it's electronic, it's temperature control. I'm not going to set it this sensitive, but this thing can do 0.1 degrees Fahrenheit forever. So like, that's incredible.
That is
incredible. It's an industrial process PID that's self-learning. Like, it can maintain anything you want. As long as that heating element is getting enough power, it can maintain that forever. I've used it at 5 degrees and it hasn't had a single issue.
Wow.
I think it could. I'm curious to see how cold it can keep 185 at. I'm betting if it's not really windy, I bet it can go to -10 and be just fine.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
So what lets you do that is it being electronic and insulated. It has to be both those.
Mm-hmm.
In my testing, because if it's gas, you can have decent regulators and stuff where you can get the temperature range. I don't know what the best are, but I would say within a 20-degree band.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's better. I don't know. I'm not a pro on it, but
you're whatever, dude. You are the pro.
But then but so many factors change with that. If you get wind,
oh yeah, that's true.
On your metal, not just if you block it from your burner, that's one thing. But if you're getting wind and your wind's picking up as your temperature's dropping at night or later in the day, that wind is pulling off so much heat off an uninsulated metal pot. It's incredible. Dude, You're losing like 85% of your heat before it does anything. It's just getting stripped away as fast as it's being put on.
Yeah.
So you have to have it electronic. You have to have it electronically controlled, and you have to have it insulated. That's the only way I've found to be able to control the temp this precisely. And by doing that, like you were saying with the elk, it allows you to do a thing we call maceration.
Yeah.
So that's the only way I do skulls now. I do not boil. I will never boil unless I'm traveling out of state and have to have it done in a day.
Mm-hmm.
But we do elk and deer, everything at 100 degrees, and it creates bacteria in the water. You pull the skull out after a period of time, hose it off, it's done. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
It's just like you beetled it. It's amazing.
That's so crazy. Man, that is so crazy. I saw somebody, it may have even been you that posted that you could do that. And like, that's been kind of my dream, to be able to do something like that, where you can just macerate it, give it a long amount of time. You're not having to worry about overcooking it, I mean, it's kind of cool. It's nice that it can go that high, to the 185. If you need to do it quick, you can do it quick. But if you can take your time, then that's awesome that it allow you to do that. Another thing I saw that I think is really ingenious is your little covers that cover the top, because leaving it that long, I'm always worried about like the water dissipating and evaporating from the pot. Like, didn't you put like some kind of covers over or something like that to help with evaporation?
Yeah. So at 100 degrees, it really doesn't matter unless you have it in the sun, or you're in Utah, so your humidity is a lot lower than us. But like in the Midwest, if it's in the shade, and it's fall or summer, it doesn't really matter. Our humidity is pretty high until the winter. So at 100 degrees, you're only losing about an 1/8 inch or so a day of water. Like on a not hot day.
Oh, so
that's here. That's here though. Like,
no, that's
I
true.
haven't tested this in super low humidity. Your guys' humidity is half ours.
Yeah.
So it could be a lot different. And if it's in the sun, it's going to start accelerating that up. But I made those lids for the higher temps because it allows you to keep in all that evaporation, and it really does help. So I've had a couple people be like, well, the horn, the antlers still stick out there, and there's a 4-inch gap there. Like, aren't you losing a bunch of evaporation there? And yes, you lose some.
A little.
But you're still covering 85% plus of that opening with those lids, and man, it'll stop your evaporation by a ton. Now, 185, if you let that cook a while, you're still going to have to add water, but it's not that bad.
But you're not going to have to babysit it like you do when it's on just a pot on a Camp Chef. When it's like that, you gotta get a drink and pull up a book or something and sit by it the whole time. Whereas I feel like this, you can turn it on and leave it. You don't have to sit there and babysit it the whole time.
No, you don't have to babysit at all. I mean, and again, the lower the temp, the less you lose to evaporation. And it doesn't matter, because even if you would, there's an auto off switch in there, which if the water level ever drops to right above the heating element, I actually don't remember the measurement right now, but say it's like 1 inch above it or 3/4 of an inch, it auto kills the unit.
No way. Really?
Yeah.
Dude, you thought of everything. That's crazy.
Yeah, you have to, because then you can't burn your skull or burn the boiler up.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of,
I have.
Go ahead.
Sorry, keep going.
No, go. No. You go. You're saying stuff that makes sense.
So yeah, it has to do that, because that took me a long time too to figure out the right way to do that. But it has to do that just for that's a piece factor for me, knowing that even if someone's misusing the product, it'll be fine. Or it's not even misusing, man. Things happen.
Yeah.
Emergencies happen.
Yep.
Like phone calls, like, oh, my buddies invited us over for dinner, honey. Let's go. And you just put your elk skull in. It's like, we haven't been out to dinner with them in months.
Right.
Go to dinner. It doesn't matter. It's safe. You set the temp. It's not going to vary. And if the worst case scenario, the neighbor's dog comes over and drinks all the water, it's going to shut off. It doesn't matter.
Dude, that is genius, man. That is absolute genius. I love that. Holy cow. You thought of everything when it comes to this thing.
So the other couple things with it, what took me a long time to figure out, and one of them was by accident, but the slots and the straps that hold the antlers.
Yeah.
So when you do bulls, smaller bulls don't have an issue as bad tipping back. Sometimes they'll balance with water, but bigger bulls, when you start getting PC keeps shutting off. When you start getting above 280, then the bulls always want to tip backwards. So, man, I struggled for them. It sounds stupid, dude. I spent 3 months at least trying to find the right way to prop elk up. And I played with bars and bolts and nuts and bungee, dude, everything you could think of. I spent months messing with it. I couldn't get anything to look clean. Then I developed a whole system, but it went in the bottom of the tub. And then I literally put a head in it and put water in it. And I was like messing with my system. And I thought, you are the biggest idiot on earth. This is hot water.
Right.
Like, but I mean, dude, that's just what it took for my dumbass. So I figured out, like, okay, scrap all that. That's 3 weeks of work. So, and that was a pretty elegant system. It was really cool. I wish it would still work, but it doesn't. But anyways, then I made these slots on it, and I had to do it for a couple reasons, a couple technical molding reasons. I had to have a slot somewhere on this. And when I did that, it just opened my eyes. I thought, oh my gosh, I can use like a bungee ball and this EPDM shot cord that's weatherproof and can be boiled. And I can just wrap any antler, it doesn't matter, any animal, any size antlers, and then they connect into these slots. So you don't need any stands, no tripods, no buckets, no bricks, nothing. Any elk, any deer will stay upright exactly how you want it using the slots and straps.
How big?
So it's all toolless too.
How big of an animal could you put in this thing then? Could you do a moose in this thing?
You can't do a moose. It would hold the moose head up, but you
Would it?
can't do it because the moose head's too long and it's too wide.
Oh,
So
I
made one. I made a version to do moose way back. Actually, one of my first versions to do moose, but it was going to be 48 inches long. If I remember right, I think it was 48 inches long, and it was another 4 inches wide. But that's 4 inches wide on. Man, I think it's 4 inches wide each side. So it was
huge.
giant, man.
Yeah.
It was gonna take the cost to. I was gonna have to sell it for about $1,500 to $1,600.
Eesh.
And it made it. It was going to be 55 pounds to 60 pounds instead of 30 to 35.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what? If you want to do
it.
moose, I can give you ways to do moose better than this. This is just not. This is meant for the lower 48, or not even lower 48, but it's made for the 95% of North American hunters.
I was going to say that's pretty much everything that it's going to be able to do. I mean, if it'll do a big elk. Like if you get a big 400-inch elk, it'll take that just fine.
Yeah, it'll hold. We've tested on a ton of elk, a ton of skulls, because the difference in a 4-year-old bull or a 2-year-old and a 10 and 12-year-old, it's a different species.
It is.
And even Roosevelt. That's another thing too.
That's
but
right.
Hey, I haven't seen an elk that won't fit. So
that's amazing. Anyway, sorry not to get you off track with the strap that you're working on, but as you were saying that, I'm like, man, how big an animal can you put in that thing? So okay, so back to the strap.
No, I mean it's super simple. I overlooked something so simple for so long, and I obviously didn't want it to look ghetto. I feel like the whole thing looks really clean and professional. You know, I that was a big thing, aesthetics. I mean, I spent a lot of time on aesthetics of the whole thing. It needs to look good. It needs to function well. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think my current system does both. I think the straps don't take away anything. So
I was going to look and see if I can see the strap. Is there a picture of it on your website?
There's the video of it. I need to get some more stills up. My video guys, they're great, but when they shot the promo video, I was looking at it, I'm like, why didn't you guys zoom out at all? So they don't even have a full they don't have a full still of the whole rack and everything.
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the Expo stuff on my Instagram,
Oh yeah, that's
pictures of the strap.
Okay, I was gonna say I swear I had seen it somewhere. That's probably where I saw it was on the
The website's lacking a lot, man. I got a lot to do there as far as the different information about skulls. Before it drops and starts shipping, I'm going to have a full guide up. I've been saving some skulls. I'm trying to get more, but I got 3 right now. I'm trying to get some with the hide on. I do a full walkthrough and guide how I like to do it and stuff like that. So.
Oh, you just posted a video today. I didn't see this one that you did with Brian.
Yeah, we did a podcast at the Expo.
Oh, sweet. Okay, I see those straps there, though. Oh man, that is genius.
And you can use them on either side. You can do one elk. And depending on the elk, you can also fit a deer in at the same time. And that's not a big deal if you're boiling, but if you're macerating, that's huge because then 1 week goes by and both skulls are done.
Yeah.
Or you can do multiple deer at a time. So you can fit 2 to 4 bucks depending on how the racks are.
So if you're going to macerate at 100 degrees, how long did you say you would leave that in there?
A bull elk, 1 week, and you water change day 2 and day 4. A deer you can do in 4 to 5 days, and you can water change just once if you want.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. This thing is so legit. This is on my wish list. Well, like I said, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I gotta have one of those because, I mean, when you're spending this much money to do a Euro, and it's like I know I can do it. It's just the hassle of doing it, and what you've come up with here is a way to just completely get rid of that hassle. What's the time frame on you getting these out to people? I know you can pre-order them right now, right?
Yeah, I had the pre-order and it was a reduced price at first, but now it's the full price and they're shipping. I'm trying to ship them by end of July, but my hard date is September 1. So no matter what season you're in, you should have them then.
Okay, yeah, at least you get them for the season start. So have you got a lot of pre-orders? I mean, you don't have to tell me how many, but.
Yeah, I mean 15,000, so
let's go to Mexico, man.
If I sold 15,000, I'd be in Mexico already.
I was gonna say, you'd be going to Mexico and taking me with you.
I'd have sold my company. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. No, man, it's been good. I had a goal for the Expo, and it fell a little short of that, but it still did well. And I think the attention is there. I think obviously with something so expensive and so new, people are like, well, that looks really cool. But I don't know yet. And that's also, I feel like a lot of people are going to buy it mid-season.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they're going to get ahead, and then they're going to be like, well, I'm going to try this. Also, I think it's going to help me because people are going to start seeing it in action, and reviews are going to start getting up, and people are going to be like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yep.
That's what I'm hoping. So
I think you're absolutely right. I don't think people know what they're missing at this point. Like I said, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that I just got something I've got to have like that. It makes sense. In fact, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I don't know if he sent it to me or I sent it to him. I was like, dude, doesn't this just make sense? Like you could go back to doing it ourselves, not have to pay $250 to have somebody else do it. Do it ourselves. It's easy. It's functional. It's not it's not gonna just wear you out trying to do it like we used to do. I was like, I think when people see that, they're gonna want it.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. If you have multiple buddies, I mean, I've said this on Brian's, but what you want to do is either chip in with your buddy or just simply buy it for your buddy, and then he does all your skulls.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Or have your kid or whatever be like, hey, buddy, I'll buy this. You got to do my skulls and all my buddies' skulls, whatever. But the thing about the maceration is like, the work isn't there. So until you've done it, people can't understand.
Right.
But a bull elk, when you macerate it, has about 15 to 20 minutes of actual work in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no work. There's no cleaning it. It just sits there. So if you have a week for it to sit there, it just sits there. There's no... that's it. There's nothing to do. So you go and do your own stuff. You check it once a day, make sure the water level is where you want it, and you move on.
That sounds amazing.
I think, and people don't understand the deer too. And I'm an idiot because I didn't save a hide on head, but I have pictures of it, and I was showing people at the expo this. So for whitetail, we just throw the head in there, severed head, ears, nose, fur. Teeth,
everything?
Everything. It doesn't matter. The maceration still works in 4 to 5 days.
What? It'll get rid of everything?
Yes. You pick it up,
dude.
You hose it off. It's done.
We've got to do a video of that.
Yeah. I'm using, like I was saying, I'm using my hotspot right now. I will, when we get off here, I don't have the true before and after because I didn't take a picture of the severed head, but I have a picture of what I dumped out of the pot, which is it's disgusting. It's everything, and then I have the next picture is my dad's buck from this year. It's skull fresh out of the boiler, and you'll just be, dude.
Dude, you gotta send me those.
I can tell you this, and even if you believe me, you don't understand until you see it. And when you see it, you just be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm never doing a head any other way. This was awesome." I didn't believe it the first time I tried it because one of my buddies years ago told me about this, and I didn't believe it either. I was like, "Dude, you're so full of it." No, it works.
It really works.
Doesn't matter. No, and the brain is gone. There's no shaking it or anything. If you let it fully macerate, the brain is totally gone.
That is nuts. So I got to do a video on that.
The only drawback to what I just said about doing it with all the hide and the brain in and all that is that you have a lot more fats in the water then. So you get a lot more grease absorbed into your skull.
Oh,
you following?
Yeah. So you get a little bit of that coloring. More. Yeah.
But you can degrease in this as well.
Oh.
Excuse me, but yeah. So you could degrease. I mean, I'm working on something now though. I'm working on using certain soaps when you macerate. So said it earlier, the maceration encourages bacteria growth. So I'm working with some soaps that will simultaneously degrease, like very thoroughly, 100% degrease while it's macerating. Because,
oh my gosh.
So macerating, it does help degrease, but if you want your skull perfect, we still degrease after you macerate.
Yeah.
Truly perfect, where it'll never have a problem. Well, I'm working on a few things I need to start one of the tests this week. I'm hoping by Sunday I can have it going, but my wife has a couple different soaps, more natural type soaps, and I think they're going to work just fine. We have a milk cow, and we use one of the soaps on her udders and stuff before we milk in the morning.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to try that soap. I don't even remember what it's called right now. I'm ashamed I don't know that, but I'm trying a few different soaps, and I think that's going to work because then if that works, then, and I'm ashamed to say this, I'm admitting all this because I'm ashamed that I never tried this. I feel like an idiot because I always just thought, oh, any soap's going to kill the bacteria, right? But I'm saying like antibacterial. Everybody's using Dawn.
Right.
So I just never tried it, but I'm going to try it now because then if that works, it's a truly one-step thing. And then obviously if you want your skull bright white, you're going to still need to peroxide it.
Right.
But we have an easy way to do that, a pretty easy way to do that too.
What do you use? What do you use to whiten it?
So you can't do it in the boiler because the peroxide, we use 40V peroxide liquid crystal.
Oh,
Just the hair stuff,
Yeah.
But you can't use that in our boiler because it's really hard on plastics, any type of plastic, and it's even hard on stainless. Peroxide is hard on everything.
It is.
So I'm not gonna allow that to be done in the boiler. But you can, or I'm not gonna recommend you do that in the boiler. But you can just buy like a cheap plastic Rubbermaid. There's certain ones. I'm gonna find some SKUs off Amazon, and those always get changed. But I'm gonna find a few SKUs off Amazon people can use for elk that are long enough to put an elk in. Then you just fill the empty space with bricks, rocks, whatever you can do to take up volume.
Yeah.
Put your elk skull in and fill it with peroxide up to the bases. Let it sit. You're good to go. Oh, there's other ways guys do it too. There's guys that paste it on and then wrap it in saran wrap, put it in a windowsill so you don't lose a bunch to evaporation and the sun helps whiten it. There's a million ways to do that.
I put it in a spray bottle, spray it, wrap it in a bag, put it in the sun. I've done it a couple different ways. Some of them work better than others, but I'm also not one that I feel like I've got to have a bright white skull. Like I kind of like some of the coloration in it as well, though.
So yeah, that's what I'm excited to try is the maceration with certain soaps because if that works, your teeth won't be bleached, so they'll look cool.
Yeah.
But you won't have grease in your skull at all.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm excited to try that.
Are we going to have a Grakksaw soap coming out?
Dude, no, absolutely not. But I will I'm a big open source guy, man. I'm a big open source guy. So I will link everything I think. You can buy it yourself for cheaper from Amazon. I won't make anything. From nylon brushes to bleach to whatever. You can buy it all from somewhere else. I don't want to do any of that.
That's awesome.
My wife said that. She's like, aren't you going to sell a full kit for all this stuff?
Yeah, just put a whole kit together. We just buy the kit, you know. Hey, I like your wife more now.
Dude, you people are all the same.
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, what do you mean, you people?
Yeah, what do you mean?
I'm a dude who's playing a dude trapped as another dude. Yeah, man. I might do it when I get a full kit, but I'm not gonna pressure sale anybody. It's gonna be like e-boiler, and then would you like the kit? Yes or no? It's not going to be like, are you sure you don't want the kit as you're checking out? Yeah. Are you sure you're forgetting something you might want the kit? I'm not doing any of that crap. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So, okay, so for those people that are listening, what's the price of these e-boilers?
Oh, one more thing before I drop the price.
Oh, okay.
I got asked a few different times at the expo why it doesn't have a drain port. So do you have a guess why it doesn't have a drain port?
I guess just because it'd be hard to put it through like the insulation and the.
Your coolers have drain ports.
Oh, that's true. I have no idea. Why. Yeah, why wouldn't you put a drain port in that, man? Come on.
I know. I'm an idiot, right? I forgot it. I overlooked this one simple feature. No.
I'm trying to think.
So I did it for 3 reasons.
Gosh dang it! There's 3 reasons, and I can't think of one.
It took a while to figure it out. So, reason number 1, if you're not macerating, you're left with big chunks. So, some of them sink, some of them don't. You're left with jaws. You're left with all kinds of things that don't fit through a drain. So, when you open the drain, what do you think happens every time?
That's right. It gets clogged up. Okay.
It gets clogged, and then you got to mess with it with your hands or a stick, or then it's annoying. That's 1. 2, the threads in rotomolding are really coarse. So, even with a really high quality gasket, a silicone gasket, when you start creeping that temp up to like, say 170 to 2 to boiling, those threads want to walk. And I don't know, I need to talk to like a good heat transfer guy or something and see why this happens. But the threads walk open every time I tried to do this. Yeah, when you get high temperature. You could try it in your own coolers. I don't know what coolers you have. Do you have some Yetis or something?
I got some Yetis, yeah.
Try it out. If you could keep boiling water in there, dude, it will start leaking. And then you'll keep feeling, it's almost like your gasket's compressing a little bit, but you can still
Is it spinning? Like, is it actually spinning the plug, or is it shrinking it?
Well, usually, I mean, heat's going to expand things, so you'd think it'd get a better seal, like the threads.
Yeah.
But it's not working that way. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I couldn't get it to work properly and reliably. So that was reason number 2. I wasn't going to chance that. But the third reason, and it's the most important from a manufacturing standpoint, and why I had to scrap it even if those first 2 weren't true, the third is why I had to scrap it. Someone is going to open that when the water's 205 degrees.
Oh, yeah. That's a fair point right there.
So it didn't matter. True. I thought of all this stuff, and then at the end, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I can't let someone open this because I've almost done it, and I made the damn thing.
Yeah.
So
that's you don't want a lawsuit on your hands.
No, so that's why I stopped it.
That makes sense. That like you said, that's probably the most important one right there. Well,
but that's like the number 1 question I'd get from someone who's like trying to find a big flaw with it, and that's what I mean. That's a few people said that at the expo, and I gave them my reasons, and by the end of it, they're like, "Yeah, I guess I see why you didn't do that."
Well, I would have had an issue with it, but earlier on you said it weighs like what, 30 pounds, the boiler itself.
Yeah, 30 to 35 in there. Like the production version, it depends because of my wall thickness that I end up using for the production, and which it's getting tested a bunch of different ways. So the wall thickness matters, and then the density of the foam I use to insulate. So I can change the weight with either of those 2 changes.
But regardless, it's not like it weighs that much. So to dump it out, it's not like it's going to be a big hassle. Now, thinking about that big one for a moose or something, that would be hard to dump that thing, or it could be hard for some people to dump that thing out.
Yeah, and on mine, you have 30 inches, and you just pick up the one side. So you got a lot of leverage on that. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah, being that lightweight, I don't see an issue not having a drain plug, but
no, you're just going to have to use it on a, ground level edge of your concrete or something where you can drain into gravel or, somewhere you don't care about. You don't want to put it up on your deck where you're going to have to drop it off your deck and stuff.
Right. Well, I've got a little.
You could. It's just what you want to do,
but you could easily, even if you had it up like on a table in your garage, say you're doing it in your garage, you could put a barrel, like a drum right there, and still tip it over into a drum and be just fine.
Yeah. The only thing, man, is you're a wild man if you want to macerate a skull in your garage, because if that garage is attached to your house, it's going to leave a smell in there from macerating that I don't think a police crime scene crew would ever get out, man.
See,
it's brutal.
One of the blessings, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. I used to race motocross and I crushed my face. I can't smell, so I wouldn't have an issue with it at all. My wife, she's like a hound dog. She smells everything, so she'd be the one having the issue.
Wow, you can't smell? Yeah, I can't
smell.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd like that. I don't think I would.
So I'm a nurse, so sometimes it's okay.
Yeah, that's probably great. Then you can get puked on and whatever.
Exactly, doesn't bother me at all. But there's other times when when you have a new baby, and my wife's like, "Oh, smell this baby." I have no idea what a new baby smells like. So.
Smells the same as the fat people that keep the cookies under their boot. Smells the same.
It's disgusting.
I know you've seen that, haven't you?
Oh man, I could tell you stories of the crap I've seen, dude. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, all right, okay. So you gonna tell us the price on this thing? So if my listeners want to buy one, what's it gonna run them?
Yeah, it's $799, so it's $800.
Okay. Dude, that's not so. Again, going back to this elk sitting right here, $250. 3 of those. So me and 2 of my buddies that went with me, that pays for that elk right there. I mean, that pays for that boiler.
Yeah, and that's just elk, and most guys are killing a deer or 2 a year. Mm-hmm. So you get 3 guys in, and everybody's killing 1 to 2 animals a year. It's paid off in half a year.
Yeah. I like your idea that you brought up earlier and have your buddy buy it and then, have you do it. So my buddy Chad, I'm sure he's listening to this podcast. Buy it, Chad, and then give it to me and I'll take care of all of our skulls. I like that deal.
Yeah. And I mean, it's you can travel with it. So it's, I haven't even really brought that up, but it's just as portable as gas as long as you can get power. Okay. I guess gas technically does edge it out there in portability because you could do that without a generator or anything. But if you have even a Honda generator, it's under 13 amps. So it'll run off a Honda, go to a hotel. You don't need to run it for more than an hour or so to get the brain matter out.
Yeah, that's true.
Get the brain matter out, put it on the truck. Yeah, it won't be perfect, but you could finish it at home.
Yeah, that's sweet, man. Yeah, honestly, I'm amazed that you were able to bring it in at the price point that you were able to bring it in. When I first saw it, I thought it was going to be significantly more than it was. So I guess I appreciate you bringing it in where you did because I feel like more people.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because some guys are like, busting my balls, like, oh man, that's so expensive. I'm like, man, you should see the margins. It's not that great. This thing is a very expensive product to make.
Well, and you think
There's
about
a lot of things in it.
You think about how much money we spend in hunting gear, whatever that may be, like a pair of binoculars or a rifle scope. This is half what one of those things costs. If you're buying Swarovski, it's a quarter of what a Swarovski spotting scope costs. You know what I mean? So like that's a drop in the bucket compared to a lot of things. And then you think of taxidermy, like if you've had anything taxidermied, you spent more than the cost of that one boiler doing a deer or whatever, So honestly, I'm not saying that just to blow smoke up your skirt, dude. I really think that's a reasonable price point for those things.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I want to get into what's up next for Grakksaw, but do you need to go refill that cup before we do that?
I mean, do you want to pause it?
We can pause it. You can go fill that thing up and I'll go get a drink.
Okay, perfect, dude. Right, I'll do that.
All right, I'll be back.
I'll just leave everything running, huh?
Yeah, just leave it.
I was sprinting.
You say you beat me. I had to pee so bad. I was like, all right, I do want to ask you a couple more questions, but I couldn't even think straight anymore. So, and I needed a drink. So, and I figured you needed to fill that cup up too.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Hey, I just want to say, dude, you're such a likable guy. I was like, all right, I could talk to this guy forever.
I'm thinking the same thing about you, dude. In fact, what's funny is I walked out here. So my son's sitting out here on the couch outside of my studio here, and he's like, "You sound like you're having a blast in there." I am.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at this old laid back country boy. He's kind of a moron.
So. Whatever, dude. No, this is fun, but Yeah, I was like, I can't even think any longer. I gotta go pee before we wrap this thing up. Like I said, I won't keep. I know it's almost 10 o'clock your time, right?
Yeah, dude, wrap it for you, but don't worry about me. My kids, my wife took care of the kids. They're in bed. It's all fine. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, I want to
not doing anything important tomorrow. I'm going to Mexico tomorrow. Like some of the social like, upper class.
Yeah, that upper class, high rollers are doing. Hey, that trip was completely free. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I believe that. There's a lot of perks, I'm sure. Certain perks you can get sometimes. So.
Yeah, that's what we. So I travel a lot for work, and so like I had a whole bunch of flight points and hotel points and whatnot. Paid for, I mean, minus tips and a few other little things, but like whole trip paid for. Like, yeah, got to do those kind of things.
Dude, that's pretty cool too. Like my wife and I did that for our honeymoon, and it was fun. I mean, I don't think I want to. Some of my buddies go to Mexico like every other year, and I don't think I ever want to do that, but. I could see, I don't know how long you've been married, but I could see like my wife and I going again without the kids. I could see it be pretty rejuvenating for your marriage, just.
It is.
We don't have to think about all the shit we're supposed to do. We
exactly.
can just relax for a little bit.
You don't even have to think about like what I'm going to cook for dinner.
Is my volume good?
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry.
I can adjust you over here too, but no, you sound great. But yeah, like not even have to worry about like what you're cooking for dinner or what you're doing that night for entertainment or it's just all that we just do an all inclusive and it's so freaking nice just to get away for a week and do it, and especially when it's like that and I don't have to pay for it, don't have to like stress that I got to put pay a credit card off or something like that. It's nice. So no, I'm not a rich guy. I'll just tell you that. I'm not.
Dude, I don't care if I hope you are. That's awesome. I mean, that's the thing. It's so funny. People talk down on rich people sometimes. I mean, not often, but some people, they'll say snide comments. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's like one of the goals. Obviously, raise a good family, raise good kids, become wealthy. Those are all positive things. Being wealthy is not a negative at all.
Exactly. That's
being wealthy while you're taking advantage of people. Yeah, that's not positive. But if you're growing something, that's a tremendous, man. That's a virtue. You're using the talents God gave you. So.
Exactly. Well, that's what people talk about, like this podcast. And they're like, "Oh man, you should do this. You can do, you can do so much with advertising money and whatnot." And like honestly, for me, that's cool and whatnot. And I could have every one of these podcasts being like trying to sell a product or whatever. But that's not. I'm just more excited to talk to cool people. That's what it is. And if I can help,
dude, that's what's going to make it grow more than anything. All the artificial. All that other stuff, man, that's not why things succeed, in my opinion.
Yeah. You got to be pretty just real. Just be a real person, and things will happen naturally. I mean, just like you with Grakksaw. It's obviously it's probably something you want to make your millions with, but just being who you are, that's what's going to make your company grow, regardless of what your products are. Who you are is what's going to make your company grow.
It's funny you said that. My marketing strategy was so scoffed at my marketing strategy does suck. But how I got to where I am, man, you have to trust your gut sometimes.
Yeah.
I did some things in the beginning that I didn't compromise on stuff. I'm saying I did some things in the beginning that probably would have been looked at by guys who knew how to run businesses or by people with a little more experience, been like, yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to get you anywhere. And most of the time, those guys are right. And I do respect people who've run good businesses. But if you're doing something that's your own thing, sometimes you just have to believe in yourself and trust in yourself. That's cliche, but it's so true.
It's the truth.
People don't know what you know about something if you're obsessed with it and you love it. There's different levels of knowledge in tiny little niches.
Yeah.
So,
dude, well said. Well said. I mean, that's exactly it. It's why we do what we do, right? I mean, at least that's why I do what I do and why I enjoy what I do. And I don't know. It's why I get out of bed in the morning. Whether it's my real job that actually pays the bills or this job that I like to do for fun. That right there is exactly why I do what I do. So it's a good time. But I did want to ask you. So everybody that's fans of Grakksaw, what's coming? I mean, you kind of pulled one on us with this e-boiler. Like, I'll be honest, I had no idea that you were coming out with this thing. I mean. I felt like I was following you pretty closely, but you kind of surprised me. But what's the future hold for you? What are you working on?
I didn't make it because, to be honest, I was a little paranoid about it because it's a complicated product to get right, but it's a simple idea. I think ideas are a dime a dozen. I mean, I have so many ideas that if you did them to the fullest could make you a lot of money and be very successful. But it's the completion of the idea.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. It's like a lot of people probably wanted to do what Henry Ford thought of as automating an automotive line.
Right.
But that's not easy. It's very difficult, So I kind of kept the boiler pretty close. There was only a few guys that knew. And then as time went on, more and more people would find out because people that knew would tell other people. But it was still a pretty small circle. And like around here in my hometown, lots of people knew I was working on something, but they didn't really understand it, a lot of guys,
Right.
Because they never saw what you saw at the expo.
Right. We see a finished product and we're like, holy crap, where did this thing come from?
Yeah, so they're just thinking, they don't know what to think. But yeah, I kept that pretty close because I just thought I'm going to wake up one day and somebody who does rotomolding and I just thought one day I'm going to wake up and there's going to be somebody like, oh, look at our e-boiler. So I tried not to, talk about it too much.
Gotcha. Yeah, it did. It surprises, but that makes me kind of think like, okay, you've been working on that thing for like 5 years. I mean, you don't have to tell me all your secrets and whatnot, but are you working on other projects? Is there going to be more products from Grakksaw coming out?
Oh yeah, man, I got a list of awesome stuff I've been working on, and
dude.
Yeah, I unfortunately the coolest thing I think I might ever do I can't talk about because if I say anything about it, it'll give away what it is.
Yeah.
But I got a list of stuff.
That's
for this
awesome.
next year, I got a few different things. I mean, the only hint I can really say is they're all bow related.
Sweet.
So they're all related to a bow. Now that could be any part of anything of a bow. That could go from, I'm saying releases, sights, arrows, like they're just bow related. They're not even bow. They're archery related products.
Dude, that's what I love about your products is you're like, we got game bags, we got an e-boiler, we got archery products. I love it, dude. I think it's awesome.
So I got, if everything goes well, I should have 3 different archery products at next year's expo, but I'll probably end up having 1 or 2 just because that's how it goes. I should at least have 2 of them, and one of them's really cool. One of them, like, it's kind of a simpler thing, but no one's done it again, and it's like, it's awesome for whitetail hunters and traveling hunters. They're going to say the same thing about the boiler. They're going to say, why did no one do that?
Wow.
It's in front of everyone, but no one's done it that I know of. I mean, there could be done.
Dude, that's every product. You guys come out with stuff, and I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Like, why didn't I think about doing that?
So there's that, and then, I have a long pipeline, in another couple years. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, but I'll just have to get on every year and tell you about what's next.
Well, honestly, that's exactly what I was just going to say. So selfishly, I asked that question selfishly because like, I love to ask anybody that I'm talking to, like what, if you have stuff coming out next, because that gives me and you an excuse to hop on another podcast and talk about those things. And so whether that's at the expo next year, that would be cool, to be able to see those new products there, or even before or after, hop on a video like this and do it again. But I love that. I love hearing that you got more stuff in the works, because I'm a big fan.
I have to, because what else am I gonna do? I have to do it. So
someone's got to do it, right?
So why not? I don't know. It's fun. It's fun. It sucks most of the time, but sometimes it's fun. Like it was cool. It was cool bringing that baby to the expo.
I'll bet.
I wrapped it up, brought it in. Like even walking into the hotel, I had it wrapped up. I didn't bring it into the expo until right before start, like 10 minutes before start, just because I don't know. I was really protective of it, and it took a lot of my time, so.
Oh, that's so
but
awesome.
It's fun doing that,
Well, it's shocked and awed, and that's what you want to accomplish, is you want to shock and awe people. And I'm not kidding you. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your skirt. Like seriously, when I was checking Instagram, it was like everything Grakksaw e-boiler. I'm like, the world, man. Yeah. And so it did. It made an impact on a lot of people. I think it's that new shiny toy, it's what everybody's looking at. It's like, wow, this is going to be big for the hunting community. It's going to make a big difference. So
that's awesome, man. It makes me it makes me smile like a kid. That's really cool, man.
Good. Hey, and one other question before we wrap this thing up. I wanted to ask you about your hunting plans for 2025. You said you got to do an elk hunt and some deer hunts. What are you planning?
So I got an Idaho, whatever they even call it now in that hellacious online draw system thing.
Oh.
I got a Idaho over the counter that's not over the counter elk tag.
Yeah.
So I got one of those for a good spot. I have 6 or 7 Colorado elk points that I'm on the fence about.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I'm going over what to do there, but I think I'm going to save those and wait a couple more years so that the archery units have been only residence and draw for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm just going to use a second choice in Colorado and get what I can get or get a point. And then I have enough points in Wyoming for a decent deer tag, and I have enough points in Colorado for a decent deer tag.
Dang.
So, yeah, so I got a buddy in Wyoming who's a resident, so he can take me wherever we want to go.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an option, and he's a really extreme dude, so we'll probably just go some low point wilderness unit where there's giant crusty 180s and just, I don't know, see what we can do.
Nice.
The biggest muley I've ever killed, not near 180, I don't know, high 150s. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to killing a big muley. Then I got, what else do I got? Man, I got a lot of stuff this year.
You got to go with Ethan Pate Boy, to Montana.
Yeah, Ethan Pate Boy, exactly. Yeah, that's on the table possibly. But here's a problem to all this is I'm having my 4th kid. My wife's having our 4th kid.
Congrats.
In August. Thanks, man. So that due date is early to mid August. So it's going to be tight.
Ooh.
I mean, if I do everything perfect, okay, and get this too. So it's really a house of cards I've built here. So obviously, as any good elk hunter is, I have to get the job done before it's going to be elk season. Otherwise, you're just, what kind of man are you?
Yeah, so, exactly.
So that's the plan, and it all worked out. But my wife's sister, she was supposed to live with us because her husband's a pilot in the Navy, and he's supposed to be getting deployed. So that's actually helps me, though, if she's living with us. But here's the problem. Here's the good and bad news. He called us today and said he might be getting deployed to the border and stay in America. And I'm like, no, dang it, dude. You're supposed to be in Afghanistan. What are you doing?
Screwing up the plans, man.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But anyways, that's a tangent. Yeah, then I got some, I might go Idaho bear. I have some airline points built up as well.
Uh-huh.
So I might go fly out to Idaho in the spring for a short 5-day hunt or something and see if I can take a bear down.
Oh, dude, that'd be so sick. You should do that. That would be so sweet. Kind of kick the year.
Or I'm just gonna, man, I don't know. I have a thread in my phone, a note and stuff of all the potential things, and I mean I have like 10 potential things, so it's just what I get and what I get necked down to. I'm in for Arizona. I'm in New Mexico. I'm about to be in Wyoming. I'm in for that draw. So I mean I'm in for everything.
What do you do? Anything?
I'm just gonna take as many as I can.
Do you do anything there at home? Do you do any whitetails or anything?
Yeah, I do whitetails, but usually by the time I'm back, I miss the rut. Usually the best parts of the rut, and then I don't know. I like whitetails, but I feel like I've said this before. I think I told this to Ethan on a long time ago, but I feel like I spend less time driving out west, hiking into somewhere on public land, killing a bull, getting it out, driving it home, than I do trying to kill a mature 150-inch or better whitetail buck.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I will spend more time in a stand, more time food plotting, more time trail cameras, more time setting stands, more time scouting and driving than I will if I just went out west and killed something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I got a buddy that lives in...
it's so heartbreaking, dude. Sometimes in Missouri, it's so hard. You guys have some monsters. There's some big deer, but at my dad's, we've seen some big deer. We'll see big deer all summer on our alfalfa. And then when the rut happens, man, when they get hard-horned even, right around September 15th, when they start getting hard-horned and start splitting up from bachelor groups a little bit, everything changes.
Yeah. And
you can go from seeing this stud 160-inch 10-point that's like, oh my gosh, I'm killing him September 15th. And by September 12th, he's gone. And that's that.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, I got a buddy that lives in Mississippi, and he talks about that all the time. He's like, man, the time that I spend trying to kill a 120-inch whitetail. He says it's unreal because between food plots and cameras and moving things around, and like he said, and then sitting in the tree stand. He's like, it's
and unless you hunt out your back door, you got to drive every day there and back. And if you're going to work or doing something, if you're doing something other than all day sits, you have to drive there and back, go do your things for the day, drive there and back every day. The time, man, it's wild. Like the guys who are really good at whitetail hunting, man, they're a special breed. Yeah. And I've never met a guy from back here that's good at killing whitetails that doesn't kill elk every time he goes out west. I just haven't met one. Any good whitetail hunter, and I think that's true for anything though. Any really good elk hunter is going to be able to kill whitetail too. Yeah. It's just what you set your mind to and set your priorities to. But it's a different level of dedication, some of these guys.
And patience, too. The patience that you guys have to hunt whitetails, like, you got to be so, like, you just said it, to sit all day in a stand, that sounds like pure hell to me. Like, that, I want to walk a mountain, and I want to see what's over that next ridge. Like, that's how I live my life. To sit in a tree stand all day, like, I keep thinking about this Canada bear hunt. Like, if I got to sit in that tree stand all day, I'm going to go nuts.
Yeah, man. My dad's partner, so this was like 3 years ago when he did this. Right now, Missouri they got a CWD, like food and I don't know if it's mineral ban or just food ban. They got I'm going to say food and mineral ban, I don't know, whatever, both. But like 3 years ago or so, I think they just did that this year. But so the last 2-3 years, they haven't had that. Well, 3 years ago, my dad's farm partner redid our whole farm in alfalfa. So 10 acres of alfalfa, Roundup Ready alfalfa. Just the seed alone's $500 a bag, and he's buying all these bags. He's putting down thousands a year in fertilizer, builds all these enclosed blinds. Then he spent like $10,000 on supplemental feed and protein and corn. And it's just dude, that's just the money. Then the time, the guy sits like probably 20 full days a year. Huh.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, dude.
I couldn't do it.
10 to 20 full days. No joke.
Couldn't do it.
But he kills nice deer. But that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Because it'll be that one day you aren't going to hunt, and he'll be like, look at all these bucks I saw today.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
One of these days I need to do it. I've never shot a whitetail. That's another animal that's on my list that I want to shoot. I got a blacktail right here, but I've never shot a whitetail in my life, and I really want a good 150, and that may be asking too much.
That's a bit. 150 is a big whitetail.
Is that big? Oh, dang. Okay, 130. Whitetail.
130. I'd say 130 is like around here in Missouri, which we're not the best, but where I'm at is a pretty good spot. I'd say a 130. If you hunted a decent amount of time, you could kill a 130 pretty much every year. See, if you really devoted yourself.
See, that's the problem. Is I don't know that I have the time to go do it. Like I think you need to spend a couple weeks at it. And. I don't know.
With a bow, yeah, man.
Yeah, and that's another thing I want to do with a bow.
Yeah, it can be done. You just gotta, let me know when you want to come out and waste your life, and then I'll go with your wife to Mexico, and you can come here and chill out with my wife. There we go. Whitetails, have fun.
Raising a new baby.
Yeah. No, dude. The time, it's a crazy amount of investment, dude. It's I'm not man enough for it.
Yeah, it's just. Well, that makes sense. What you said really makes more sense than almost anything that anybody's ever said. Is like you can come out west and you can grind but it's only 5 days, and you're gonna kill a good mule deer, or a good sized elk. So it is less time to come out here and get something and then just go home. That makes perfect sense.
But you understand that being out west, but guys back here they don't think that at all. They
really
think. That's crazy. They're like, what are you talking about? That's so much work going out there. You got to hike in the mornings. People don't hike here.
I guess that's true.
You get dropped off by a ranger, and then you're, that's that.
But you gotta walk up the tree stand though.
Depends. Some of these blinds, man, they're pretty low to the ground. It's a short set of steps.
Just go sit in the blind and drink beer. That's fantastic, right?
One of the best like at my dad's farm, you can, in the winter, if the snow hits, or if the snow hits early, like early December, and the alfalfa is still greened up, you can sit in our farmhouse and drink coffee and eat breakfast, and you could shoot deer all day. So there's that. I mean, so then you don't have to go anywhere.
Well, I'll do that. Can I come? When can I come?
yeah, you can do that. You can probably do that.
Yeah, one of these days I just got to check that box and get me a good whitetail. And I mean I still love my mule deer more than I'll ever love a whitetail, but there's just something unique and cool about a whitetail. Just the shape of them and the way they look. And I'd love to shoulder mount one just because I feel like their cape is a beautiful cape. Having some of those black faces that some of them get and whatnot. Like they're a cool looking animal. So one of these days I'll check that off the list.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe if I keep doing the right things and I buy some more land here, then I'll have enough to let you come loaf on my property for a little while. So.
Dude, I'll hold you to that, man. Anytime I can get, then you can come out here and spend some time with me and we'll go kill a lot of stuff.
Heck yeah, man.
Dude, awesome. Well, shoot, dude, I'll let you back to your night or let you go get in bed because it's past your bedtime. But man, just appreciate you spending some time with me. This has been a really fun podcast. I love what you're doing with Grakksaw. Like, love the new products that you've come out with. Love the old stuff. I'm gonna get me some boot dryers. So when you see an Ehuntr order come through for some boot dryers, throw one of those shirts in there.
Dude, only order if you need a business expense. Otherwise, I can just ship you one, man. Don't worry.
Well, I seriously, for my trip to Alaska, I want those in my bag. I think that's going to be worth its weight in gold just to have those to keep things dry. But I mean, I think about my Western, my Utah archery hunt and everything. I feel like that's something that really needs to be in my bag and probably should have been in my bag a long time ago. And I'm going to make sure it happens now. So.
Hey, and I got one thing to plug. I don't know. I've never used this thing, man. If you got just a second.
Dude, we got all the time in the world.
I've never used this thing, but I just was at Go Hunt in Vegas, and they had one of these in the storeroom.
Zero pump.
The Flex Tail. So it's 1 ounce, and it inflates your air pad like 15 times on one charge.
What?
Dude, that sounds like such a, pansy-ass thing, but
No.
I'm so excited. That's my least favorite thing of backpack hunting by myself is inflating, deflating, and reinflating my pad every time I move or do whatever.
Dude,
I absolutely hate it.
Hold that thing up here again. I gotta search that thing up.
It's called the Flex Tail Zero Pump, and this one is the 33 gram version, so it's a little beefier.
33 gram, huh?
Yeah,
There
they
she
have one
is.
that's even lighter, but the Go Hunt guy said this one's the better one.
Hey, 10% off right now too. Oh, it's just got like a little 650 milliamp battery that goes sweet.
Yeah, so I can't put my life on it, but everybody I know that's used it said they're awesome, and I'm so pumped for 1 ounce. I'm bringing it, man.
I was gonna
100%.
say, yeah, for that light, I hate pumping up an air mat or a pad.
I have the big Thermarest luxury Topo.
Me too.
5-inch thick, dude, and the extra long because I'm tall. I'm 6'3". So, dude, that thing takes me over 100 breaths to fill. By the end of it, my cheeks hurt, and I'm like, that sucks.
You're seeing the little stars in your eyes. Yeah, you've been yeah, dude, I know exactly
you have to take breaks, man.
I know exactly what you're talking about. How long did you say this thing runs?
I think it does 15 fills on like an average size pad. So on the big
a whole trip.
Topo Luxes say that only gets 5 to 8. I mean, that's still all I need for a trip.
Dude.
And you can recharge it with a battery pack. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. That's awesome.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, dude. So I just figured like everybody I talk to, I'm going to be like, hey, check this thing out because it seems so cool.
Oh, dude, stuff like that, like stuff that you just don't know about, like, and you find stuff like that. It's like I don't hate it, but game changer gets used way too much. But something like that is a game changer. It makes it so much nicer because it sucks to blow up a pad. Hey, these guys make pads too.
So hopefully that'll help you out coming up.
Now you got me on a rabbit trail, and that's what I'm gonna do as soon as we get off the podcast is go look at this stuff and order me one of those.
Perfect, man.
Shoot. All right. Also, before you go, plug all your stuff. Where can people order the stuff? Where can people get on the pre-order for the e-boiler? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Just go to Grakksaw.com. You can go to the Instagram or Facebook. I do some posts on Instagram, but not a ton. But the basic idea is there. I give a whole walkthrough of the boiler on Instagram. The site's got written specs of the boiler and more is to come. So I'm going to have a full guide on how to use it, full guide on how to use the boiler, how I like to do everything. But the best place is probably just the website.
Okay.
And if you need anything past that, you got any questions, just send an email to the website or call the number. One of those numbers goes to one of my business phone, and that is a business cell phone. So it's always on me.
Wow.
During the day, it's always on me. So you can just call that and I'll get your call.
Dude, that's cool. And I'll put, just so it makes it easy for everybody, is I'll put a link to his website. I mean, it's not a hard website to find, but there'll be links to the website and the products in the show notes, so you guys can go and click that, get to it very easy. That's awesome. I appreciate you plugging that and throwing that out there that they can reach out to you, because I'm sure every time I do one of these product podcasts, I get a ton of questions, and a lot of them come back to me, which is fine. I mean, people can ask me questions and I'll ask you the questions probably, but it's nice that they can go directly to you as well. So anyways, guys, support Austin and Grakksaw. I think this is a awesome company, cool stuff coming out. I'm excited about the new stuff too. Now you got me intrigued about the archery stuff.
Thanks, Taryn. I'll send you, I don't know when any of it's going to be done, but my goal every year is the expo, just because it's a good motivator. It gets a lot of eyes, and so I'll try and maybe I can send you a few prototypes or something before then. We'll see.
Oh, dude, I'd appreciate that. That'd be awesome.
Okay,
man.
Heck yeah, Taryn. Hey, I enjoyed talking with you, man. The time flew by, so thanks for having me.
It did, dude. Hey, you got my phone number. Let's stay in touch. Let's talk frequently.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Taryn.
All right. Have a good night, man.
You too.
See ya.